going to get this show on the road literally. I'm Mrs. Brady, and on behalf of all of us here at Linden Hill, Dr. Bradley and myself, and all of our first grade teachers and children, we'd like to welcome you here to our curriculum night. This is the first grade curriculum night, and the reason that we have curriculum nights here at Linden Hill is because the children are so excited about their learning that they want to share it with all the people in their lives. So we have everybody come back one night for each grade level and showcase the things that they're doing in their classrooms. Now, your child has been working very hard this month learning good reading strategies. And they have been using the Kevin Hankey's books to do this. And that's what they're going to showcase for you this evening. You know that every day and every month here at Linden Hill is I Love to Read Month. But nationally, February is I Love to Read Month. And our first grade students have taken this very seriously. They have been bringing home books to you each night, and they've been reading them to you. And they've been keeping account of how many they're reading. They're very proud of that. Later this month, and it would have been now, but our weather did not cooperate for our timeline, the children are going to be bringing home their strategies booklets that they've been working on as they've learned their strategies. So please take an opportunity when you see those come home to look through the books with your child. It is through Kevin Hankey's books that the students have been practicing these reading strategies, and tonight they're going to share one of his books, Chrysanthemum. That's a mouthful. I want to introduce our readers, but first I want to thank in advance all of our first grade teachers. Tonight I'd like to thank Mrs. Martin, Mrs. Fong, Mrs. Adams, Mrs. Bryant, Ms. Jameson, and Ms. Hilgar, and Mrs. Fleetwood. But in addition, there's some people that have worked behind the scenes. These risers that you see here were snowed in until about noon today. And Mr. Chris and Mr. Cunningham dug them out specifically so that the children could practice on them, or be here on them tonight for you. Miss Leah and Miss Cromer took them out, brought them up here and set them up, I think, around 4:30 today as children were jump roping all around them. So it's really been a community effort to get this show here tonight for you. And most of all, we'd like to thank your first graders because they worked very hard in a very limited time to get this ready for you. And we ask your patience as they enter because this is their first time on the risers. And we want to make sure they get up there very safely. I have one more request before I introduce our first graders. And that's that if you have a cell phone, that you either turn it off or put it on silent or whatever, because we want to just protect the
It's on vibrate.
environment for them as they come in. Okay, here we go. I ask for your complete attention as I introduce to you our first grade Linden Hill readers. The first group that's coming in tonight is Mrs. Fong's class, and they will be Mr. Chud and Mrs. Twinkle.
What is it?
From Miss Martin's class, I hope. That's it.
Oh, they're gonna all go up as a class. And Miss Martin's class is next.
Now we have Mrs. Martin's class, and they will be the students. Miss Jameson's class is chrysanthemum. Mrs. Bryant's class is chrysanthemum's dad. Mrs. Adams' class is chrysanthemum's mom. And Miss Hilgore and Mrs. Fleetwood's class act as our narrator for this evening.
Is this what it said it would be?
There you go. I was getting a quick picture of Alexander.
What?
The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives.
She's perfect! Absolutely! She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is. Her name must be absolutely perfect.
How do they do it with on books?
Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name.
I love my name.
She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smiles. She ran all the way.
Hooray! School!